Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the service. We ask if you have a cell phone or pager, if you could turn it to the silent mode. Officiating is Cantor Stephen Storr.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsad, benotesh yarbit seini al memenuchot yenhaleni. Nafshi shovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geitz hamavet lo yirarai ki ata imadi. Shivtecha mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulecha neged sorerai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Aktov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai leyorech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters, and God shall restore our souls. He guides us in the straight paths for God's name's sake. Yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no evil, for we know God shall be with us. God's rod and staff comfort us. God prepares a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. Throughout my lifetime, God has anointed my head with oil, and my cup has runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forevermore. The psalmist makes it clear that we shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The shadow of death is a day like today, a day of sadness, of depression, of loneliness, of figuring out how do we get along in this world without Marion by our side. She's been everything to you and you to her. But the psalmist says we will get through the valley. We will move forward. We will get on. We won't get over it, but we will get on with time and with love and with memory. And we thank God for the healing that will take place over the years. The body is taken by death and the soul is taken by God. Memories are kept in our minds and love remains in our hearts. Our faith lets us know that we shall one day meet again. Marion Katz was born in St. Paul, Minneapolis, June 11th, 1932, to her parents, Pauline and Reuben, both immigrants to the United States from Russia. She was the fourth in a family of four children, Anne, Maury, and Howard. A fourth child was difficult for a couple trying to make a living in America, about which Pauline and Reuben must have been wringing their hands, but there was something special about her, which they knew would bring them the needed joy that they wanted for their family. The story shared by the family about Marion and her siblings came through my ears into my mind, which immediately created an image of an old Technicolor-type movie. These little girls dressed in skirts made of fabric from their family draperies, Marion receiving the hand-me-downs usually from her older sisters. And I'm sure it came in handy that their father was a tailor. Imagine in your mind's eye 3 young girls, Marion the smallest, as you called her little bird, singing from the front porch of their home, trying to solicit maybe an apple or maybe even a dime on a good day from some walkers-by. Don't sit under the apple tree, you shared was one of the favorites that they would sing. You boasted that she retained her beautiful voice well into her senior years. The family had but meager income, and every little bit that the girls could help earn was certainly a help. Ultimately, the children would grow up, some marry, and the family blossomed. There was Maury, of blessed memory, Howard and Claire, each of blessed memory, and Anne and Harry, Harry sadly having passed on, but how blessed the family is to yet have Anne in the circle of life. All of the nieces and nephews were treasured, you told me, by Marion. Those who lived with and or knew her best, of course, Harold, her beloved husband of 63 years, and then, of course, her children, Sue, and now Carlos, Karen, and Steve, Rob and Cathy. We recall, of course, sweet memories of Gary, of blessed memory as well. There are certainly more, such as her grandchildren, Jessica and Andy, Cameron, Jeremy, Jonah, Austin, and her diamond great little grandson, Gary. How Marion's eyes, you said, sparkled when she would spend time. There were others who deeply cared about her, such as her son-in-law, Neil, and those who literally cared for her, caregivers Sherilyn and Rowena. Mar, as they would call her, appreciated the kindness and respect, and she valued how nicely, Sherilyn, you mothered her by tucking her into bed every night. Mar was an endearing nickname, but Marion even had more. Karen called her mom Marion Bird, and Sue called her mother Marion the Librarian. She would play along and enjoy the kibitz. I heard that she never had an angry or mean bone in that petite little body. There are many stories about Marion's long life. You mentioned a story of how she swam across a camp lake one summer as she was pursuing the company of a young boy. Dickie Natel. That was Nicky. That was Dickie. And you giggled, as you just did now, when you started to name other very peculiar names of the boys that she had favored. Marion did well in her early elementary school years, but she did have a penchant for over-socializing during class time, shall we say. You told of how she would at times have tape placed over her mouth to keep her quiet. She never really did stop being a social omnivore, though. She enjoyed people's company, anybody's company. She had an interest in other people's lives, always being kind to inquire about their well-being, that of their family, and when she learned the details, she retained them in her memory. She was never judgmental about anyone's race, creed, faith, or their station in life, be they a doorman, a grocery bagger, a restaurant staff person. And she set an example for her family in that way, and many have looked up to her as a role model. She continued her good studies. Throughout her lifetime, she read the daily paper, you told me, as well as watching Jeopardy and other types of shows. She was persistently feeding her brain. At a young age, this lovely little girl decided it was time to find a job, but not surprisingly, no one wanted to give her one. Marion turned to one employer and asked, "How can I get experience if nobody gives me experience?" She got the job. Once her family had moved to Chicago, she would attend Roosevelt University and achieve her teacher's degree. She would find that job easily to perform because she knew how to love children. She grew up with siblings and others, and she was a third-grade teacher. She felt such an enduring fondness for one of the students that ultimately she would name her own daughter, Karen, after one of these young children. She was very loving and devoted to her parents from the time she was young until they had aged into their elder years and needed some nursing care. She was always known as a well-dressed woman. She never wished to be caught without her lipstick or her makeup, I was told. Alas, there was one incident when the family surprised Marion with a birthday party. She was very touched about the party, but not so happy about not having been put together according to her standards. There was no doubt that when she and Harold met, well, he went by Buddy also, correct? Met, she was perfectly put together in his eyes. They would meet at a wedding. I was told she came with someone else, but by the end of the evening, she had Harold's attention and he had hers. Sometime later, they would marry at the Sovereign Hotel, December 23rd, 1956. And she would become very close and fond of his parents, Rebecca and Sam, and they loved her. Their marriage was one which always emulated a fairy tale of deep love. When she was asked by her girls what the secret was to getting along so well all these years with her husband, she replied, "I just ignore him." How could a Pooh Bear ever get mad at one another? Harold was a captain in the military, and the family moved around a bit. And it was on an army base in Virginia that you told me Karen would be born. Eventually, they would move to Evanston and then into Skokie. Marion would stop teaching as she began mothering her own children, Sue, Karen, and Rob. You mentioned how she brought you up to be respectful, and that whenever your father was to come home for dinner, you were to be well-behaved, so your father can enjoy his meal after a very long day. Shabbat dinners were an absolute, as well as were lighting Shabbat candles, brisket and capon and other delicious foods. Oh, and Karen's favorite, I forgot, the homemade gefilte fish. Marion kept on a kosher home, less so for herself, but to respect Harold's parents, who were just a bit more observant. She had no compunction presenting dinner every night for the family, but you said she wasn't so keen on hosting some of Harold's professional dinner parties at the house. To Marion, that was more stress-producing than raising her own children. Saturday night dates were their night to go out together and relax after a busy week. One other aspect of their lives that they both enjoyed was their winter hibernation in Florida by the ocean once Harold had retired. It was yet another environment in which Marion and Buddy would meet and make wonderful friends, and they traveled with many of them as well. They traveled to nearly every continent. Marion had expressed to you that she wanted to see the world before leaving the world. When Harold became ill and passed away, it must have been intolerable for her, of course. Pooh and Bear were now, for the first time in a long time, apart. This quote is associated with Winnie the Pooh in one of his books. How lucky I am to have someone that makes saying goodbye so hard. If ever there comes a day when we can't be together, keep me in your heart. I'll stay there forever. I'm confident that their souls will now reunite again. Just before I invite her children up to share their memories, I'd like to share a reading by Rabbi Karen Kedar. It's entitled A Mother's Letter to Her Daughters. And while it might be directed to daughters, I'm sure, Rob, you will feel the message through this poem. It's abridged. The morning you wake to bury me, you'll wonder what to wear. The sun may be shining, or maybe it will rain. Maybe it will be winter, or not. You'll say to yourself, black. You're supposed to wear black. And then you'll remember all the times we went together to buy clothes, the prom, homecoming, just another pair of jeans or another sweater or pair of shoes, but you'll remember how I loved to dress you and how beautiful you were in my eyes. The morning you wake to bury me, you will look in the mirror in disbelief, and you'll reach for some makeup, or not, and you won't believe that this is the morning that you shall bury your mother. So let me tell you one last time before you dress what to wear. Put on any old thing, black or red, skirt or pants. Despite what I told you all these years, it really doesn't matter. Because as I told you all these years, you are beautiful the way you are. So let me tell you to take care of each other. Take care of your heart and your soul. For when all that is left of me to give is love, please remember to love. In whichever order you have chosen to come forward, I invite her children to come and speak with us. The grandchildren will follow.
Karen wants her posse with her, so she's going to start.
My mom was the OG cougar. All of my friends, male friends, had a big crush on her, and she was such a Gemini, a flirt. They all loved her so much, and she loved the attention. She even did a tic-tac with me, and it was, boys are like a bus. You miss one, you catch another. Here's some of my mother's little isms. A child fits into your life, not the other way. Do the right thing and show up. Shoot for the moon, land on the stars. One little story I want to tell is when I was in nursery school. At that time it's called nursery school, now it's preschool, whatever. I was like 3 or 4 years old, and it was a Purim play. And we were all excited about it, that we were going to put on a Purim play. And I came home from nursery school, and I told my mother that we were doing this play. And she said, oh, what is your part? And I said, I'm the audience. And she goes, "You're the audience?" I said, "Yeah, someone's got to be in the audience." She's like, "No, no, 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 no." And that year there were 2 Queen Esthers. I'm going to give this.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay. So our Nana was the sweetest, warmest, funniest grandmother. She was the person I wanted to sit next to at family dinners and the person that I went out of my way to visit on a 4-hour layover in Chicago on my honeymoon. She always made me feel so loved, greeting me with, "Is this my star?" or simply, "Hi, Jezebel." Some of my fondest childhood memories are sleepovers at Nana's house. You'll hear a recurring theme, where she'd put us to bed with the "Now Run Along Home" song, a song my husband and I now sing to our 10-month-old child every night in an attempt to recreate the best upbringing that we know. I'm so grateful that my son Gary got to meet Nana in person and also frequently FaceTime with her. I would melt at how he was able to make her smile, and he even got her to wave and to comment on how much of a wild chaya he is. Nana's caregiving instincts have seeped into every aspect of my being. Just yesterday, I was making scrambled eggs for my visiting nephew, and I realized they were Nana's famous scrambled eggs that she would serve us, along with these very specific blueberry muffin pouches. When I hosted my first Passover, I reached out to Nana for her storied brisket recipe, only to be told it was just something that she ripped out of the Chicago Tribune years ago. She taught me how to be Jewish and how to create a space for family to come together, which are 2 of my most cherished values. Nana and Papa were always so supportive of me and my performing and writing endeavors, and they came to every show, even flying to New Haven just to see me in the ensemble. And while most grandparents would focus on the nachas that they get from their grandchild's accomplishments, Nana would hear me rattle off all my activities and my aspirations and say, "But when do you have time to daydream?" She knew how to live a rich, well-rounded life, and she's helped me understand what's most important.
I like to practice a type of meditation called loving kindness, and the meditation involves visualizing different people in your life and opening your heart to them. And the practice recommends that you first bring to mind people who it's easy to love, and then move to the ones who are more difficult. Whenever I do this practice, I begin with Nana. Nana was the easiest person to love. She was so authentically herself and had a heart of gold. She would never speak ill about anyone or anything except my hair, which she had a right to do so. Despite being so full of love, she wasn't boring. She had incredible, hilarious one-liners that would shock us. I, as some of you know, host a podcast with my mom called Sex Talk with My Mom. And I remember one time visiting her and flying into Chicago, and the first words to her, or that she had for me was, "Are you still making dirty videos with your mom?" She was the epitome of a wonderful, loving grandma. Growing up, I would love sleeping over at Nana Papa's house. She would read us sweet bedtime stories about dinosaurs and polar bears in the most soothing voice. And every holiday, she'd feed us foods that we've never heard of, like carrot mold and kishkis, which we do not want to know what was inside of them. She would attend every single one of our grade school theatrical performances and make us feel like we were stars. And she would share profound life wisdom with me, like encouraging me to go to temple every Friday night to meet a nice Jewish girl. And despite being a family of Jews, one of my favorite memories with her and Papa was driving around to see all the Christmas lights every winter. Nana was a treasure in my life, and I hope to emulate her capacity to love and her resilience. I'm so grateful for all the values that she instilled within me, from leading with kindness and honesty to exploring the world and learning. She was an incredibly special, loving person, and I'm so lucky that she is my Nana.
Okay, there's going to be some overlap. We all are from the same tree of grandchildren, so forgive me. Nana spread only joy to the people she was around. She had the quickest wit, so just beyond comforting and endlessly charming and convincing us to eat things called carrot mold, which, by the way, is actually might be the best dessert ever created. Believe it or not. I always remember spending all these nights over there, and the Little Bites muffins that Jess mentioned were like, I could taste it, and getting all these bedtime stories, and that song that she used to sing us every night, that I also get to sing for my now nephew, who I love very much. In the more recent years with Nana, we bonded over our mutual love and massive misfortune of being Chicago sports fans. We spent many times swearing at the TV, and but I swear, Nana, this is our year, okay? The Bears got it this year. And she was just always so proud of us, even when we were watching Jeopardy and I got a question right before one of the contestants. The look of pride on her face was something I'll always miss. And she just had so much pride and love for her family and her grandchildren. I'll miss experiencing that from her. And I guess as our closing statements here, I think we want to end it the way Nana would end every night with us when we stayed over. Now run along home and jump into bed. Say your prayers and cover your head. We say every same thing I'll say unto you. You dream of me and I'll dream of you. Thanks, Nana. We love you.
Hi, I'm Rob, son, as many of you know, and I hate following these guys. It sucks. I didn't write a lot. I don't know why, but I'm going to make up for it by talking really, really slow. So. Anyone who knows me knows that I am never at a loss for words. Today I am. There are no words that I can use that would do justice to the person that we are all here to honor and to mourn their passing. Marion Shrifter, my mother, the bird. I have so many memories of her from growing up, many of which I can't recall all the details, so I'm not going to share them with you. So unfortunately, most of my memories came in the last 10 or so years of her life, when she, of course, got a little bit sick. This is a woman who fought a terrible, debilitating disease with an attitude that everyone in her family and friends group can attest to. Never complaining, like so many of us would do, myself included. Only giving herself 20 minutes a day to be depressed, and the rest of the day to forget about it. Always doing what the doctors asked of her, and what, of course, her wonderful caregivers, Rowena and Sherilyn, asked her to do. Even working out in the weight room like a week ago. Amazing woman. And the whole time, she had such a positive attitude and such a strong determination and will to live. That was present even up to her very last days. She even called my son on his birthday, as that was so important to her. Birthdays, so important to remember everyone's birthday. My mom was a beautiful soul. She touched and inspired so many of us to do the right thing and always go with the truth. That was her line, game at the Emmis. Go with the truth, be honest. I know that her and my father will very soon be together, true lovebirds. And I could speak for Cathy, Reid, Grace, and I hope we loved her so fondly, and I hope we all can continue in her footsteps to be the kind of person that she was. Thanks.
They say that celebrities die in threes. Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan, and now Marion Shrifter. To us, Nana was a celebrity. Experiencing the love of a grandmother is one of life's greatest gifts, especially if you are the grandchild of Marion Shrifter. From a young age, I'd get overjoyed to spend time with my grandparents at Camp Nana Papa. It always meant there was time for sweet treats at every meal. Pop cereal and Little Bites blueberry muffins for breakfast, not to mention an endless supply of assorted Jolly Ranchers and Werther's Originals in a jar on the coffee table by the couch. As the excitement to see my grandparents strengthened as I got older, Nana's physical condition did not. The only other person that I have seen fight an illness as fiercely as my papa did when he was sick was my Nana. And as sad as this day is, I take solace in two things. For the first time in over a decade, Nana isn't having dyskinesia from her Parkinson's. She also doesn't have to experience the pain of living without her partner, Harold Buddy Shrifter. And two, my papa has got to be the happiest man in the universe, getting to be reunited with his little bird. Anyone who knows me knows how deeply I love the Chicago Cubs. So much so that I got a tattoo in 2016 after they won the World Series. 9 months ago, I decided it was time to cement on my body the only other thing that rivals my Cubs love, the love for my grandparents. Truthfully, I'm not sure Nana loved the tattoo. But the bird and her buddy will forever have a place on my heart. I'd like to conclude with two very important thank yous. The first is to Sherilyn and Rowena. Thank you for taking such good care of my grandmother and for loving her like your own. You may have different last names as us, but to me, you will always be family. And the second is to the Nanzi. Thank you for raising 3 incredible children who in turn produced some of my favorite people on the planet, the Cousin Squad. I will love you forever. Please give Papa Poopits a big hug for me.
Thank you so much for coming here today to honor the memory and to celebrate the life of our dear mom. As many of you know, Mom was fighting a quiet battle against Parkinson's disease for the past 18 years. As her needs increased and she needed more care, we have been privileged to know Sherilyn and Rowena, 2 of the finest women and caregivers the world has ever known. Cheryl and Rowena, we cannot adequately put into words the amount of gratitude Karen, Rob, and I have for the 2 of you, for your loving and tireless care you provided for the last 7 and 8 years. So thank you on behalf of our mom, our dad, and all of us. This was not just a job, but truly a calling. How does a daughter capture the essence of a mother, of our mother? I can start by telling you she was a very kind woman who loved all people. She never gossiped or said a mean word about anyone in all the years I knew her. Perhaps it's part of how she lived to be 93. I can tell you that she loved her family with all her heart. She once told me the years of raising the 3 of us were the best years of her life, and she wishes she could go back in time. I can tell you that she had a delicious hot meal on the table every night, and that I never appreciated all that went into that until I became a mom myself. Finding the recipe, the grocery shopping, the meal preparation, etc. She did it so effortlessly and was so good at it. Unfortunately, some of us did not inherit that gene, but she was a wonderful cook, and she hosted dinner parties for friends and our dad's work colleagues, and so many memorable holiday dinners with extended family. I can tell you that she and my dad had the kind of lifelong love you rarely see except in the movies. The care and respect they showed each other, the fun they had together, all of the travel they experienced, and the annoying, at times, unbreakable united front they showed in raising us led them to model a very special love and bond which is easy to envy and hard to emulate. They were, in fact, so united, they shared a gym bag, which we dubbed the uni bag. Not sure I'd want to copy that one. And years later, the mutual caretaking of each other through our dad's battle with pancreatic cancer and mom's battle with Parkinson's disease was the essence of true love. How lucky we have been to see and feel their sweet and deep love. Each night, as everyone's talked about, and you heard the song, they had the tradition of singing together the same 2 songs after the lights were out, and even after my dad had to be in a separate hospital bed. The travel we did as a family shaped our childhoods, and the trips were expertly planned by the family travel agent, our mom. I could never sleep the night before each trip. I was so filled with excitement, whether it was to South Dakota, Florida, Colorado, or more exotic places like Israel, Paris, the Greek islands, and the Galapagos. Each trip, especially when the 3 of us were in the back seat with, of course, no seatbelts, bickering and poking at each other, they would say, "We're never taking you on another family vacation." But the next year, we were off on another adventure. And this time, Mom would bring along a travel bingo game or some other way to keep us entertained and keep us from killing each other. Who could ever forget the game of hit 'em and flick 'em? We played while in Jamaica with the rental car taken over by hundreds of ants. we'd hit them and flick them. And we laughed and explored and developed a love of travel that continues to this day. Once our kids arrived on the scene, Mom would organize multi-generational cruises to the Caribbean and Alaska so that we could all be together for more adventures. As a lot of people have already said, my mom had a way of making us all feel so special. She did this by sending birthday cards, carefully selecting gifts, and never missed a call to sing in harmony with Dad the happy birthday song. She'd make sure there was a date to go out to celebrate our birthdays. She planned elaborate birthday parties or cast parties with homemade pizza bagels in our basement. She even let me have a co-ed Sweet 16 at a little Italian restaurant with a live band of high school boys and flower pots full of candy as centerpieces. She had a way of making me feel better when I'd come to her with guy or friend trouble. When once bemoaning the middle child, being the middle child, she asked, "Susan, what's the most important part of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" To which I replied, "The middle, of course." And she told me to think about that. It stuck with me all these years, and it cheered me up as a young child. When I was trying to choose an area of study and a career, it was Mom who told me that she noticed all of my friends coming to me with their problems and that maybe I should be a social worker. I'm so grateful I took her advice. In more recent years, when her disease and medication caused some cognitive issues, Mom would ruminate on certain themes, which always involved needing to send a birthday card to someone or needing to buy a wedding gift for a couple who had married decades earlier. It was always a way to honor others and make them feel special and celebrated. As people have mentioned, our mom always dressed impeccably her entire adult life. She wore outfits which made her look like Jackie O, and even until her last day, she wore makeup and earrings. She and I had the tradition of L&L, which of course stood for Lunch and Loehmann's. For those who don't remember, Loehmann's was a store filled with loads of heavily discounted designer clothing with a group dressing room where we would enjoy chatting with other ladies and giving and receiving input about our clothes we were all trying on in the community dressing room. Mom was a beloved friend to her close friends. They would walk together, talked on the phone frequently, mostly about us kids. Some of her best friends are here today, thank goodness. As a child, I remember overhearing her talking to her friends and feeling annoyed, but in retrospect, because she kept talking about us kids, and in retrospect, it was symbolic of that which was of primary importance to her, loving and raising the three of us. Eventually, the conversation switched to discussion of her 7 grandchildren who adored her. She taught us, as Rob mentioned, the importance of being honest and to never lie, even if it meant having a hard conversation. She said, "You'll always come out well in the end if you, game it to Emmis, go with the truth." The way our mom managed her health challenges was remarkable. As people have mentioned, she gave herself 20 minutes a day to feel sad and sorry for herself. Sometimes she would admit she would give herself an extra few minutes. She rarely complained, even though she had very good reason to. She was just not a fetchy person, and she fought hard to maintain her mobility. As recent as this past Tuesday, when she had her last physical therapy session, and all 80 pounds of her rode the stationary bike for 22 minutes. She persisted and had a will to live and never resisted help from those trying to assist her in staying healthy as possible. So in closing, and to honor our beloved mom, I leave you with a few lessons she taught me. Don't gossip and never hesitate to let someone know you appreciate them. Ask questions of others and respect everyone. Laugh a lot. Cook a meal even if you suck at cooking. Love hard and with your whole heart. Travel the world and have adventures. Sing and make music together, especially before bed. Stay by those you love and care for them, even when, and especially when, the going gets tough. Persist in the face of any adversity. Take time for sadness when life gets hard, just not too much time. Game it to Emmis, go with the truth, and live life to the fullest. I love you and miss you, dear Mom, Marion Librarian, and I will keep you with me in my heart forever. Love always, your Susabug.
Your memories are obviously countless, and probably just as tremendous memories, souvenirs, and artifacts your folks would bring back from all of their trips were countless. So too are your memories. Marion, you agreed, was the glue that held this family together, the peacemaker within the family. She remembered everyone's birthdays, and as we heard, and God forbid she forgot one, well, that was her greatest concern. Family shared that Marion was always doing for others and never really for herself. She would continually protect you from anything, even Lampsey, in the house. She would go anywhere and do anything for you except drive on the highway, though there was once that she would drive her daughter to the hospital. When it came to her grandchildren, it seemed to me that she suffered from FOMO. She wanted to be in touch with you at all times and up to date on everything that was happening in your lives. Other than grandchildren and great-grandchild Gary, Marion filled her life with so many activities. Allow me just to rattle a few to you. TV shows, Jeopardy, 60 Minutes, and Doc Martin. Football, as you've heard, notably the Bears, but to be honest, she had confessed in her lifetime that she preferred rooting for the Bears when they were winning. She liked sports more than did Harold, and she knew baseball and football stats and rules which she would teach to the next generations. She also found time to take part in Hadassah and in a neighborhood book club. When not engaging with human beings, Marianne had an animal magnetism that drew her to all manner of little creatures, from iguanas to hamsters and fish, as well as chipmunks and squirrels. One in particular was named Chippy. I don't know if that was the chipmunk or the squirrel. Marion also loved her house cat. I believe you called it Pandy, and had developed later such a fascination with cats that she followed the big cats in Africa, traveling there twice. Marion was strong, and she bravely fought her disease. She was a strong woman with a will to live and wonderful reasons to want to. When Marianne did pass away, she did so in such a fitting way. Not only did she pass away on Friday, just prior to Shabbat, the holy day, and thus possibly why she died so peacefully, but she also passed away in the spirit of Mimi. Who is Mimi, you're asking yourself? She is one of the most renowned lyric sopranos portrayed in the opera La Bohème, no doubt one of her favorite operas. Much like Mimi at the end of Act 4, Marion would unassumingly slip into unconsciousness and quietly go to her maker. The curtain had fallen. There will be no curtain call for Marion other than every day for the rest of your lives, as you stand and applaud her for all that she has done for you, you will take her encore. You will carry on her values and the examples of how to be kind, how to be thoughtful, how to be benevolent to other people. Keeping her alive within your heart is all the encore she would have asked for. Bravo, Marion. Rest in peace. I'd like to ask the family who are wearing ribbons to stand. The tearing of a ribbon is a tradition that takes the place of what people used to do when they would learn of somebody's passing. They would just tear at their clothing in anguish, and this is just a bit more economical. The black ribbon that you're going to tear is a sense of something having been torn from you, something being incomplete, if you will. And now, if you were, like Marion's father, a tailor, you could sew it up. But if you sewed it up, there would be a stitch, and you would also always see the imperfection. So to your heart, you will sew it up, it will heal, but it will never be as perfect as it once was. This gesture is a gesture of love and hope and remembrance. And I'd like to ask you to recite a blessing, thanking God for the life that you had with her, the blessings that you feel having had the parents that you had. Repeat after me if you would. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet. The final two words are the judge of truth. Tradition says God gives life, God takes back our souls when our lives come to an end, and yet we continue to hold on to our faith and praise God for the beauty of our lives. Take the little ribbon and tear it from the bottom. Just put a tear in it. If you need help, you can turn to one of the lovely people next to you, and they can assist you with you. I'd like to ask everyone now to please stand for the final prayer of the service. Rachamim shochen b'amromim hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina b'malot kedoshim utorim k'zohar rakia mazhirim et nishmat Miriam bat Ruven Halevi shelecha leolama began Eden tehem menuchata ana bal rachamim hasireha b'seter knafech leolamim Utzror b'tzror achayim et nishmata Adonai hu nachlata v'tanuach b'shalom ha'mishkava v'nomar Amen. Dear God, compassionate one, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence to the sweet, pure, and holy soul of Marion Shrifter. She has come to dwell within her eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one be finding perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of life. May the next time this family have a reason to gather together only be the sweetest of moments. Amen. You may be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the funeral service here at the chapel. The interment will take place at West Lawn Cemetery. For those who will be joining the family procession, we'll be lining up in a parking lot. We'll be placing a magnetic flag on your vehicle, and we ask that you have your headlights on, hazard lights on while in procession. Drive as close as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. For those who are not going to the cemetery, we ask that you leave the parking lot immediately so the procession can line up. At the conclusion of the interment, the family will be at the Barclay Place, 4545 West Touhy on the second floor. They'll be there until 4:30 and then from 6 to 9 p.m. We ask for everybody to please rise and have the grandchildren please come forward who will act as pallbearers. Once we have left the chapel, we ask everybody to go immediately to their vehicles. Please rise.
Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol